Shine, wild ones, it's Bernadette. I'm here with your pick a card tarot reading for Thursday, March. What the heck is the date? I just looked at it before I fired up the camera, and I still can't remember it. Okay, it's March the 25th, and I'm back. Okay, so it's kind of funny this card came out for you guys today because because it came out a couple of months ago, but it came out upright. This time it came out inverted, and the joke was one of the takeaways from today is to store fat in your tail. Who is it? The Tasmanian Devil has come inverted for you all, and that is it is the Five of Wands. And if you're wondering why I'm a little scattered today, it's because I've had 2 hours worth of sleep, count them two, and two hours. But it's cool because when I get very little sleep, I go into this weird theta state in the zone, and my psychic stuff gets crazy over the top psychic. So I kind of was a little flummoxed that this card came out for you all, because its meanings, I was like, well, if we're on a theme for the week, which everything has been so far, right? The theme has been, listen, be your glorious hot mess self and be perfectly imperfect, right? And so when you think about the Five of Wands, and, let's just for a second take a look at the traditional tarot card meanings of the Five of Wands. So, if you look at the image, if it's upright, you've got all these folks standing around huffing and puffing and fighting each other, but they're not really fighting. I mean, honestly, it's like getting into a water gun or a paintball fight, although paintball can hurt like a you-know-what if you get hit with it too hard. But, it's not really something to be taken seriously. And then the guy with the butterflies on his tunic, come on, who comes to a fight with butterflies on your tunic, for God's sake? So, they're doing a lot of huffing and puffing and fighting, but it's not really fighting. Now, here's the thing. At least when the card is upright, it kind of sorta looks like they're huffing and puffing and getting into a fight. And even if they're not really, at least they're confronting something. Well, when you turn the Tasmanian Devil, first of all, you never want to try to turn a real Tasmanian Devil upside down because they'll eat your fingers off. But, when you turn the Five of Wands upside down, well, that gets a little more serious. And being perfectly imperfect can include being afraid to face something head on. And that's really when Five of Wands is inverted in traditional, tarot card meanings for the Rider-Waite Tarot, it means that's there's something that's going on with you, a relationship, something about yourself, something about where you live, your job, whatever it is that really needs you to pay attention to it, and you are not. And that can be for a variety of reasons, which will all boil down to, I don't know why I'm always amazed at the wisdom of spirit, but I am, probably because I'm 9 or I'm like a goldfish in a bowl. By the time I go around the goldfish bowl once, I've forgotten what I saw where, or it could be my age and, in my fading memory. But the thing is that this may end up being the most perfect card for the week. I mean, I don't know what cards are going to come out the rest of the week, but when we're afraid of confronting something or facing something head on or dealing with something, just, not tucking it away. Some people who don't go to the doctor and they're like, they're afraid of what the doctor's going to say. And then they let something go on too long. And guess what? Then they show up to the doctor, and because something was untreated, yes, now they've got something going on. Or you don't talk about things in a relationship, and all of a sudden, you're the person that keeps everything in, and all of a sudden, your partner says to you, good morning. They could say it, good morning, and you're like, "Wah!" And you just let go all over them, or you cry, or you whatever, and they're like, what I say, what I do, and then you just vomit out everything that's been wrong for the past year, and they're like, you get where I'm going with this. Okay, so when we look at being perfectly imperfect, and I sit in quiet for a minute before I do some readings. Some readings I'm like, oh, I get it, and I jump right in there. And some readings I'm like, and I really sit and meditate on them for a while. Well, this one took me a minute or two to kind of reason into what was going on, and I just kept hearing the word shame. Shame, 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 shame. And what I realized was, well, not me, what the animal guide sent me was, when we don't face something, when we don't confront something, and I know people, especially people in the woo-woo business, the granola crunchy business that we're in, they don't like to use the word confront because it's too confrontative. So whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, confront, if you want to call it facing things, if you want to call it, being authentic, whatever. Give it a label if you need to. But the bottom line is there is something in your life right now that is going to go badly for you. Let me just put the cards on the table. It's going to go badly if you don't take care of it. And maybe that's just what it is. Maybe you've just got a list of stuff you got to take care of. And I would bet a lot. I would bet a lot that, I wouldn't bet my cats, but I'd bet a lot that, or my dog, or my candy, or my pizza, or my Mexican Cokes. But everything else I would bet on, that you're not addressing it because there's some shame attached to it. You're doing the scientific, if that, then this. So if this happens, then this will happen. If this doesn't happen, then this will happen or won't happen. And with this kind of thing, it's not science. There's no scientific way you can reason it out. So you might as well stop doing the science thing, and you might as well do the human thing, which is elevate your emotional IQ. And by getting rid of whatever shame it is that you are fearing will happen, even if you don't feel it as shame. Because in the world, I'm not a medical professional of any kind, ever, at all, right? But I have a fair amount of friends that are head doctors, and these are the kinds of things that we talk about. I'm always really interested in human performance, like especially what we can do with our minds. And so we talk about all these kinds of things, and they tell me, by and large, the ones that I've had the conversation with, that it's really not fear that stops us. It's the fear of shame. And shame is like the worst thing that people are afraid of, but that's the core of it. Shame is the core. Fear is shame is the causation. Fear is the reaction, that kind of thing. So that really fits in with the perfection thing. Whatever this is you're afraid to face, whatever this is you're afraid to talk out, whatever this is you're afraid to take care of, I will tell you that this seems strange, but hear me out on this, because this is really kooky. Tasmanian Devil really is the animal to help you with that. But you guys know how I talk about turning the card around, turn the card around. And yes, I'm going to sing it every time I say it. You really are being called to do that, and here is why. This is going to seem, I don't know how it's going to seem to you, but with 2 hours sleep, it's hilarious to me. And that is that when Tasmanian devils are confronted, they yawn. And man, they look like they're snarling at you. They're, because you know how people can look when they yawn. You've seen cats yawn with their big fangs, and people have pictures of them online, and they look like they're about to jump on you and eat your face off, right? Well, it's actually a yawn. It's actually a yawn that Tasmanian devils do. And so when I started to put those two together, and I was shown that in my psychic mind, I thought, oh my gosh, that's the perfect antidote for shame, is to just sit and think, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take care of it. Ain't nothing but a thing. Literally, if you will just adopt that attitude, it's like nothing can't be overcome, which is a double negative, I know, but you get what I'm saying. Now, if it's going to be life altering, okay, let's say you want to leave a relationship. Let's say you want a relationship. Let's say you want to exit a job, or you want a job, or, things that are like kind of big on that stress scale. There's a stress scale. If you've been through this, and this, you're more at risk for this, and this. Okay. I get that. But remember that is dramatic doesn't have to be traumatic. That's your choice. And I really believe that the Five of Wands showing up inverted for you all today, just because, when I read for y'all and I pull a card, it's, I'm a triple Scorpio. Like, I'm all about how do things feel. That's why I love taking classes where they make you sit blindfolded, or they make you sit on where you can't see the subject, you can't see the person that you're reading for, so that you can't hear them, you can't see them, you can't even smell them. So zero about this person. And you I've done it where you draw cards and you use the cards as a launching point to launch off your senses, or you just use your psychic senses or your mediumship senses, and you don't even know till the end of the reading. Like, you just have to keep talking. And on the other side of the wall, the sitter is taking notes about what you said accurately or what rang true for them and why. And then you come together after the test. And I've done this in some of my more advanced psychic classes. It really freaks beginners out, so I don't do that. But in my more advanced classes, I do that, where I'll have one person sit in a room and the rest of the class sit over there. And all we'll do is give them, I'll call them subject A, B, C, and D. I don't even give them their names. And it because there is no such thing as time or space, right? That's an illusion that we have. It's very easily done. Like, your accuracy can be just as real. Can I just say this? Never mind. I'm not going to say it. I had somebody call for a reading, and they explained to my assistant that any real psychic that is not seeing people in person, but only doing virtual calls, is buying into the pandemic, and they don't want to deal with anybody like that, blah, 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 blah. I've been seeing people virtually for 3 years. I haven't had an office. Well, before I got sick in 2019, I'd given up my office because I have so much business all over the world. Why am I going to pay for an office when most of my business is online? She jumped to a conclusion. But anyway, and the reason I bring that up was because it was a tremendous reminder of assumptions. And one of those, she assumed that's why I wasn't seeing people, which in fact is not why I'm not seeing people in person. It's because it's my business model and has been for 3 years. But here's the point of that. The assumptions thing goes back into how accurate you are with your spidey senses, and how this dovetails back into shame and not wanting to confront something or face something or deal with something and that dovetails into the if this, then that. They're assumptions. You have no credible data to work with other than what your opinion is. Opinions are not facts, period, end of story. And even things that we think are facts today, someone will disprove tomorrow. So there's a fluidity that if you're an open-minded researcher, notice I didn't say person, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying a person is only this way if they're only this way, because that's my opinion and I don't have an opinion on that. But the fact of the matter is, if you are a good researcher, then you will have an open mind about a lot, because that's what research is all about. That's how we have great finds about everything. That's how we found cures to this and ancient civilizations and lost this, and we invent this and invent that. You know, when the aliens don't come down and feed us all this information, or at least to somebody like Tesla. You know where I'm going with that too, right? Okay, so 2 hours of sleep. I know I'm gonna get email about that. Yay! I can't wait for your emails about aliens. It's the best. But here's where I'm going with that. Please don't assume that when you face something, it's going to happen this way. The outcome is going to be like that. Because when you assume that, you go into that situation with that intention set. And when you set an intention and all of that emotion is behind it, the universe is going to go, okay, ready? And they're going to hand you exactly what they want. The universe is going to hand you exactly what you asked for, because the universe doesn't judge either. The universe is not your mama. The universe is not going to sit and go, that's probably going to be really bad for you, so I won't give you what you asked for. I'll give you what I want you to have. No, it doesn't happen that way. That's what your friends do. That's what your mama does. That's what your daddy does. That's what your partner does. What your dog does, right? Don't do that. Okay, so this is a big circular thing, but it is a big circular thing because there can be a lot of moving parts to getting where you want to go, which is part of the reading today of facing what you're not facing. Let's say you let your taxes go for years. Okay, I understand. The universe understands. Everybody understands. Goodness knows the IRS understands. Get them done. Even if you have backup to pay and you've got to do it $25 a month until it's paid off, just do it. Because that stone, that monkey on your back It will color everything you say, everything you think, everything you do. You might think you can compartmentalize and block out things like that are weighing on you. There's a thing called the subconscious. That's why it's called the subconscious, because it's under. But that doesn't mean that it's not always talking to your consciousness, right? Okay, so again, I really am being told that you can align with the energy of the Tasmanian Devil when it's upright. So you want to turn the card around and do that whole yawn thing. Oh, today I think I'll take care of the black mold that's been growing in my bathroom for whatever. And I bring that up because I've got we're still friends, but she knew black mold was growing in her bathroom, and she kept not wanting to spend the money on it to get it fixed. And guess what? It got out of her bathroom and got into her kitchen. And guess what? She ended up on a respirator in the hospital because she'd been breathing back black mold and has asthma. I was like, what are you? Anyway, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Something that is this big, that because you're not handling it is going to grow this big. And then if you don't handle it this big, it's going to grow this big, when all you got to do is go, okay, Taz, today's the day. Because how that's going to happen in your head is there's going to be no shame. You're instead going to focus on the fact that you're strong enough, you're brave enough, you're courageous enough, you're adulting, and you're going to handle it. And whatever the fallout is, okay, it's just going to have to be what it's going to be. Because what you think the fallout might be, as horrible as you think it might be, you don't have any credible data to say it will be like this. Now, in fairness, it could turn out worse than what you imagine. It surely could. Okay. Only you can decide, is it worth having it weight you down more and more and more? Or is it worth just going, you know what? The chips have to fall where they may. I can't take it anymore. I can't take the lie. I can't take the mistruth. I can't take the hiding. I'm tired of being afraid of the shame. I'm tired. You're just tired and you don't want to do it anymore. And that is why you've just got to show up and be the glorious hot mess that you are, because it will never matter what anybody else thinks. What will matter is how you feel about yourself for standing up and facing the thing that's been scaring you, the thing that you are afraid to be ashamed of, when the only one that can decide if you're ashamed is you. So that kind of sounded like a benediction today, but you know, I don't argue with Tasmanian devils either. If you're new to my channel, welcome to, hello. So here we are. But if you're not, thank you very much for being a longtime subscriber. And if you're not, you might have seen the Tasmanian Devil reading way early in January, but the card was upright. Where I casually mentioned a fact about them is that they sleep in the body, the dead bodies of their enemies, like in Star Wars when they're out in the snowstorm and whatever those creatures are that they're on, and they slit them down the middle and they crawl up in the carcass to survive overnight in that horrible snowstorm. Tasmanian devils do that, and not only when it's cold. So, you take a cue from Tasmanian devil, work gently, very gently with their energy, but know that, if they get fussy with you, like if you're in a meditation or you're having a dream about them or they get fussy, they're just yawning. They're not really probably going to come after you, but don't put your fingers anywhere near them. So, goodness knows, I hope that was helpful. Kooky maybe, but I hope it was helpful. So, pick up your copy of the Archanimal Tarot and Oracle deck, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Goodness knows, get over to the forums, gatheringoffmystics.com, because they'll be talking about this reading over there. And please remember, my Kickstarter begins on April 1st. You're going to do great for animals if you support that Kickstarter, and for yourself. You get this crazy, amazing book and all kinds of other goodies that we're working on. Like, oh, hey, I don't know if you guys have seen these yet, but these are my... This is a preliminary copy of the altar cards that I'm making. If I can find a printer that's worth a poo, that would be awesome. These are too light. They're just like Goldilocks porridge. Some are too light, some are too dark, but they're cool. They've got like the animal on the front. They're 5x7, and then they've got an invocation and a prayer on the back. I'm really proud of these. The animal allies approve too. So that's it. I love you guys. What's the most important part of today? What? To do good for animals and stay wild.